you don't have to call, but you have to call. My schedule too busy to be tacking on. Dudes moving funny is funny, it's not real, ayy. Wanna make an exam, shaking up the Manchester City blues. Drown my liver in a pool of liquor, it's true.
Yo, bro, how do I pronounce your full name? It's
TOBi.
TOBi.
Oh, yeah. So my full name is TOBi, and my last name is Ajibolade.
Wow,
that's
man.
Beautiful.
What does it mean?
Yeah. So TOBi means our God is great. And Ajibolade means we woke up with the crown on.
Ooh. That's a powerful name there. You know?
Look, thank you, man.
Do you sometimes feel like your name comes with pressure, that you got to live up to your name?
Yo, you know what? I actually started loving my name later on in life, you know what I mean? As I got older, you know, at the beginning, when I was young, you know, they used to pronounce my name wrong all the time. So I didn't really like my name. But now I love it, you know what I mean? It makes me feel good to say.
It is. It's a powerful name,
Yeah.
I like to think. But how's the pandemic been treating you?
It's been interesting. It's been interesting because even though we've been kind of isolated, I've been connecting with people all over the world on Zoom and on the internet, and you know, making so much music with people all over the place. So, you know, it's I'm making the most of it for sure.
Yeah.
And creatively?
Yeah. So, you know, the part that I miss the most about you know, normal life is the shows, right? Live performances and getting in touch with people. So that's been kind of tough, but like I said, I've just been recording music every day and connecting with people on Instagram, Twitter, you know, Zoom, always making these connections.
Yeah. Is there anything that you learned that you didn't know prior to this lockdown? You know, some people saying they've learned new languages. Now they can cook because they've been at home. Is there anything new about yourself that you've learned?
Yeah, I think I've learned about like my habits, you know what I mean? My habits and discipline. You know, prior to the pandemic, you know, every morning I would wake up, go to the gym, come home, go to the studio. It was a routine, right? And now with the pandemic, it was kind of hard for me to, you know, find my footing and my routine. But now I just figure it out at home, you know, do the meditations, home workouts, go to the gym, you know, and just do it all at home. Just restructuring my life and figuring it out at home. So, yeah.
For people who are only meeting you now, be it through music or even through our conversation, who would you say is TOBi?
I like that question. TOBi is a soulful artist who's been making music since he could remember, since he was 8 years old. You know, I breathe music, I live music. You know, even when if you hang out with me enough during the day, you know, you'll often see me going off and, you know, playing there's a radio station in my head at all times. You know, there's always a song playing, and I'm a very curious person. I'm very curious about life, and I care a lot about people. I care a lot about fans, and, you know, I just like connecting with people, whether through music or through conversation. It's my favorite thing. So, yeah.
And when it comes to your content, like, you know, you write about a whole lot of stuff, like listening to your projects. I'm like, damn, bro, making love in the backseat. I never thought about that to be like making love,
Okay.
you know?
Yeah.
What are some of those subject matters you enjoy writing about?
Well, I like talking about things that people don't necessarily talk about in everyday conversation. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I speak about, you know, things like feminism. You know, I speak about things like emotional vulnerability. You know, as a man, I speak about, you know, socially, I guess, conscious, relevant lyrics that you may not hear these in everyday, you know, conversations that you're just having with somebody down the street. So I like to incorporate those themes in my music because I feel like it sparks the idea in your mind as you're listening, right? Like, whoa, I can relate to this, even though I'm not openly speaking about it. And I like to reduce the stigma. That's another thing too. I want to reduce stigmas in certain topics, and music is a great way to do that.
I fully get you. And just to squeeze in one, you know, before Alto asks you a question, since you bring up politics and social ills, with what's happening out in Nigeria, man, like with SARS, which was a global conversation, like looking from the outside, you know, right now, like what are your thoughts on what's happening on the ground?
Yeah, no, thank you for asking me that. That week was a very intense week for me because I have a lot of family in Nigeria currently, you know, and I've been keeping in touch with them even way before this on WhatsApp and, you know, and emails, just seeing how things are on the ground. And, you know, corruption in the Nigerian government, you know, it's been happening for a long time, right? And this was kind of like the peak incident that transformed it into a global conversation. So I'm happy that it got the awareness that I think is deserved. And I think that people are in a place where they want to make a real change. So I've just been standing in solidarity with my family, with my friends. And yeah, that's all I can do at this point, and be supportive through awareness and donations.
Now, you mentioned that you have family back home, and clearly you haven't forgotten them. Now, you moved to Canada at a very, very young age. Do you remember some sort of switch going off, be it I'm in a foreign country, or who I used to be is not what I am anymore, even sonically, because you say you've been making music at such a young age. When you think about your ear and how you listen and how you created music back then, in Nigeria compared to now as a Canadian citizen, has there been any drastic changes, not only to the person, but to the sound?
Wow, that's a beautiful question. And the reason why is because when I lived in Nigeria, I used to listen to King Sunny Ade, Afrobeat, High Life, Magic System, you know, music that wasn't in the grid format of like Western sounds, right? And if you notice, when you're dancing to that kind of music, it's a little more, there's a little more of a flow to it, where it's not like in a constant grid, you know what I mean? So that's a great question, because I haven't really thought about it like that before, but that's why I love listening to, you know, Afrobeat, Afrofusion music now, because it takes me back into that space. It's just so free. It's just such it's more of a body thing. You feel it more in your body, whereas I feel like, you know, the rap hip hop music that I make, you feel it in your body, but it's more of a cerebral thing too, you know?
Yeah. I love that she asked you that, because funny enough, when we were listening to your project, like Made Me Everything, the second track of The Elements Volume 1, I'm like, in our generation, it sounds like some of the new artists that are coming through, if you place them in the 70s or the 80s, it would fit perfectly within that era, but at the same time, it fits very well in our time. If you had to pick a time to live and still be an artist based on your music being able to fit in various times, where would you like to zone back?
Oh, that's a great question. I think the 70s would be an amazing time. You know, the 70s, just right after the civil rights movement, you know, there's this kind of social shift occurring, right? People are more like aware of social issues. This is like, the 70s, right after like Woodstock, where folks are a bit more experimental and just more of a there's like an artistic shift where, you know, soul musicians, pop acts like Michael Jackson and Prince, they were coming up around that time. Just that it felt like a renaissance. It felt like a renaissance of black music in the 70s. I would love, yeah, that's the era for me, man.
Motown? Motown. After
Motown. I say after Motown.
Okay.
Yeah. After Motown, because, you know, I don't know if I'd fit in the Motown kind of era. If it felt a little too, the beginning stages at least, kind of like a machine, right? There's like a sound and then you push it. I just like to be free, you know what I mean? I just want to be free. I just want to be myself, man.
And talking about being yourself, like, do people sometimes box you as a hip hop R&B artist, or you just decide to go like, you know, you're an Afro pop artist, Afro fusion? Like, how would you label the box that people color you in, and where would you like to be placed exactly?
Yeah, I think when people describe my music, so I call it unapologetic soul music. And the reason why I do that is because the unapologetic piece just means it's just me, right? So that's why I made Elements Volume 1, because on Elements, it has the full spectrum of what I like to do musically. You know, you got the Afro pop songs on there, Dollars and Cents. You know, you've got the R&B joints, Silhouette. You've got Conquest, which is more vintage soul. You know, Family Matters, which is more grime, but still a fusion thing. So honestly, people could categorize it whatever they want. But I would definitely call myself a hip hop first artist with Afrofusion leanings.
You mentioned Elements Volume 1. Can we expect other volumes? And if not, if you had to on the spot just tell us what it would creatively sound like, what would it be?
Well, there's definitely going to be more in the future. I want to keep doing these, you know, for as long as I can continue to make music, just as a place to be more experimental and, you know, try different sounds. So, you know, I would love to work with different producers, you know, who do Afrobeat, Afro pop, grime, hip hop. You know, I'm a piano, you know, dance hall too. You know what I mean? Like, as long as it feels natural and it doesn't feel like a force, that's all that matters for me, you know? So it's very eclectic. It is very eclectic sonically.
When you oscillate between these genres, I'm guessing that you're not the same person when it comes to a particular genre, because everything, I think, a different rhythm requires a different energy. How you write for something across genres requires a different type of thought process and energy. Who are you between the different genres? Are you, what is TOBi's face when it comes to when you do soul, when you become a rapper? What type of energy do you emit? Or do you find yourself, are you the many-faced god of music, or are you just like stoic in everything?
Yeah, you know, I like to retain my authentic presence throughout all of these songs, and just and still make it feel like it's me. You know what I mean? So I don't want to go on a certain track and then try and sound like somebody else. You know what I mean? I want to go on a certain track, work with the producer, and still feel like it's TOBi, you know? So it still feels like because it's my world. I'm creating this world, and I'm bringing these pieces into it. I can't jump around, because then I'll wear myself thin wearing all these identities. So I keep it, stay present. Absolutely.
Yeah. So Dollars and Cents is a song we are playing, like that. It's on high rotation. You probably
that's love.
Yeah, you're probably like getting like 8 spins a day, which means to spin on every show. That's super wild. The music video, it shows you living in different parts, you know, of your life. You know, you're spending some time with yourself, spending some time also with your loved one. Was it a story that you were personally going through? long distance love vibes. You know what I mean? Like when you look at the storyline, was it inspired by COVID-19, lockdown, long distance love?
Well, so the truth, I'll just be completely honest with you, was before the lockdown, I just got my passport to Nigeria reinstated. I literally a week before, because I was going to fly to Nigeria and shoot that video there. So when all the flights got canceled, I was like, man, I still want to do this video in Nigeria. I still want to make that connection. So, I called my artist friends in Nigeria and I said, connect me with somebody on the ground, and I still want to make this happen. So that's essentially what happened. And I found an amazing director named CS, and I connected him with a director in Toronto. So we had two directors working on this video over the internet, over the ocean. We essentially bridged both worlds together. So that's where the motivation came for that.
Speaking of music videos, your video for 24, the Toronto remix, if I'm not mistaken, it was described as making history for the culture. You had big name features on the song, you had big names in the music video. What made you think that the world needed a song that powerful?
Yeah, so 24, basically the whole premise of the song 24 is, as a Black person living in North America, what is my experience when I go outside? What's my experience when I leave the confines of my home, my safe space, and I go out into the world? How do people perceive me? How do I represent myself? And when I did the remix, I got artists that I respect, and lyricists, good writers, and they just wrote their own experiences as well. Now, at the time we put out the video, if you remember, that's when the racial kind of uprising started occurring in the United States with Ahmaud Arbery and George Floyd. And, we made the video in February, and all that stuff started to happen, and it just felt so weird for me. To be honest, it was kind of tough, because I was like, man, the reality of what we're putting in these songs is happening in real life, right? So, I think for the culture, it was a good thing that we did, and we brought awareness to something that happens every day. And at the end of the day, I just wanted us all to look like royalty in the video. You know what I mean? Havaya, the girl, the female rapper in the song, she came out looking like a superhero. We came out with the red lights at the end. We just wanted to look powerful. We wanted it to feel powerful. So
yeah. When we talk about Black Lives Matter, I know this conversation was had a lot during that time. With every artist we spoke about, the same way we asked you about SARS, Black Lives Matter has always been top of mind. Is it something you've also gone through where you felt like you were treated differently because of the color of your skin and because of your race? Have you gone through it before? In America, especially?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, I'm in Canada, right? And yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah. So, the systems, there are differences and there are nuances to both of those countries. Even though they're so close together, there are differences between the two. But I remember, man, when I left Nigeria and I came to North America, that was the first time that I ever thought, oh, I'm a Black guy. You know what I mean? Because, in Nigeria, everybody looks like you, right? You're not even thinking, you don't even think about that. Like, oh, I'm a Black person. That's not even a thought that crosses your mind. So that feeling of being an other, I think, is something that a lot of folks experience, and it whether you know, some people say they don't see color or they don't see, you know, race and things like that. And it's, you know, it's just not true, right? The construct was created, and because the construct exists, people see themselves through that lens. So I've definitely felt that.
Now, you had The Game jump on the City Blues remix on your project titled Still, and he shares quite a traumatic story about his past on the song. How did you feel when you heard it for the first time? Did you preempt it?
So I had nothing to do with Game's verse. Honestly, he reached out to me. He heard my version and he loved it, and he wanted it on his album. So he told me that when he heard my version, it brought him into like a reflective space to write what he did on the verses. I mean, he wrote 2 verses for the song. And then, you know, I asked him if I could put it out on my own platform, and he gave me the green light. He said I could. So yeah, I had nothing to do with the verse that he wrote. He just wrote it out of his reflection. So it was powerful. It was a really powerful verse.
So crazy, man. Like when one hears these stories and you look at your career where you are at the present moment, what would you say your biggest highlight is thus far with where you at?
Oh, that's a good question. So my biggest personal highlight will probably be with my parents. My parents, they heard my music from a friend of theirs. A friend of theirs was like, "Hey, do you know your son does this?" And then they were like, "Oh, this is cool." And then they were proud and they reached out to me. They're like, "Oh, my friends are talking about you." So that's my personal highlight because it kind of validates that, you know, that approval thing, you know, from the parents, right? Because they never really wanted me to be a rapper when I was growing up. So that was cool. That's my major highlight.
And for me, a quick one from me is, when were you the most disappointed in yourself I'm not going to say a musician, as a creator, as an artist? Was there a moment where you doubted your abilities? That one moment where you just like, nah, I can't anymore. It's too much.
Yeah, there was. When I was doing my undergrad in university, you know, I reached this point that was a bit of a low because I was so unsure on whether I should keep going with school or if I should drop out and, you know, try and make this a full-time thing. And it was tough because I wasn't getting any momentum. So I was just going to quit. I was literally just going to throw it all away. And yeah, it was a very difficult time. But looking back on it, I'm glad that I went through that time because it made me appreciate all this way more. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't take any of this for granted. Yeah, it's truly been remarkable to be able to look back and not quit. I'm glad I didn't quit. Really glad.
Yo, man, before we let you go, 2020 is almost done. We're approaching December. 2021 is around the corner. What can we expect from TOBi?
Oh, more music for sure. You know, this year is not over yet. I'm telling you,
Yes.
there might be something else. Yeah. But you know, we're working on that right now. Yeah, some features. You know, there might be a nice feature on the horizon. I'm very excited about it.
Can we get a hint?
Yeah, I mean, you could get a hint. Actually, you could get a hint. It's gonna be a Nigerian kind of link up. We're just gonna have an Afro link up for one of the songs, Dollars and Cents, actually. Dollars and Cents. So.
Well, now I'm doing some tracing. So Jules is based in the UK. He's Ghanaian, Nigerian. So is it going to be like West African vibe?
Yeah, for this particular remix. Yeah.
Is it like the young OGs or is it the new school?
I think it's both actually. It's both. Yeah, it's both. Oh, one OG.
Trying to get it out of you. Yo,
I know,
man.
but I would love to even just be super thorough with you and tell you exactly, but I don't want to jinx it. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to.
I got you. Bro, thank you very much for chatting to us. We truly appreciate your time. We're loving the music, and hopefully we'll link up in person one day when you come to South Africa, or if we come to Canada.
Yeah.
I can't wait to come to South Africa, so I hope we can link up when that happens, for real.
Most def.